hello and welcome. It's so good to see everybody today. How are we doing? Yeah, doing good? Good, good. All right, I want this to be interactive today, and it's really lovely that we have a small group because you're going to be able to ask questions. We're going to be able to interact a little bit better. Type in the chat and let me know what you would love to walk away with today. And that's going to help me know how to best utilize our time. Yes, I have a full slate of information I want to share, but if there's something specific you want to learn, put that in the chat for me. That'll help a lot. What I'm intending to talk about today is how to warm up your donors so that fall and holiday fundraising is the best that it can be. We're going to talk about some specific strategies that you can use that I have used myself. I've had clients use these and it works really well. Okay, perfect. Denise, thank you. Ideas to engage donors outside of our main year-end fundraiser. How to identify your core audience from Garfield's Rescue. Perfect. You guys are on it. Okay, if you're still thinking about it, if you came to this webinar because you thought, well, this sounds pretty good, but you don't really have a specific thing, that's okay. You're going to walk away with some good stuff. So let me jump right in. You are in the right place. If you need to raise big bucks during the holidays, whether that's to make budget or to get yourself set up for success in 2027, but maybe you're not really sure how to do that. Maybe you're not happy with the results that you've gotten the last few years from your holiday fundraising, your fall fundraising. Maybe you know that you probably could be raising more, you want to be raising more, but you're not really sure how to go about that. Maybe you want some classic Sandy Rees ninja tips to help you do that. You're in the right place because we're going to address all of that today. So, in the way of introductions, this is me. I'm Sandy Rees. I've been raising money since the late 90s, which feels really long now. And that's all these pretty gray highlights in my hair. That's what all that's from. Fundraising for a long time. I am an animal lover and a cat mama. I would not be surprised if one of my cats doesn't show up. They've been real needy lately. I know every dog in my neighborhood. When they're out walking, I know the dogs' names, but not the people's names. So, big animal lover. There's a picture of me and Praline. I love teaching people shortcuts, and I love, love, love when I get to do this in the animal welfare space. Some of you may have met me before at a conference. I can't even remember anymore how many times I've been at Virginia Federation Conference. Diana, it's probably like 8 or 10 times at this point. I don't know. It's
I
been a
think
lot.
so. Hopefully you'll be at the next one as well.
I would love to. It always feels like coming home to me, even though I live in Tennessee. I love, love, love what's happening in the state of Virginia. I've always been jealous of that. Like, you guys have your ducks in a row in a lot of ways. All right, so that's about me. I have worked as a development person. I have been a board member. I've been a volunteer. Now I'm a consultant. I started Get Fully Funded in 2005, and we've grown to a team of, I think there's 18 or 19 of us now. It's a big team. We help a lot of organizations. I would say almost half of our clients are animal welfare of some sort. So we live and breathe this world that you live in. What happened for me along the way is I found myself in a position where I was responsible for fundraising, and it wasn't something that I'd purposefully signed up for. Can anybody relate to that? Maybe you started, Rose is nodding, maybe you started a nonprofit and then you realized, oh, I have to raise money to pay for things. Or maybe you took a position that you realized, oh, fundraising is one of the hats that I have to wear. There's not many people that grow up saying, I want to raise money when I get big. We all kind of fall into it. I was young and working for a couple of different organizations when I had that responsibility for fundraising placed on my shoulders. I had no clue what I was doing. Back then there weren't webinars. That wasn't even a thing. The internet was barely in existence back then. And I did what made sense to me. And I knew an organization that was raising a lot of money through the mail. So I'm like, well, let's try this. So started raising money through the mail, started doing grants and doing events, and I got all this stuff in motion, and I started figuring out what worked. So some of what I'm going to teach you today is like, it is rock solid basics that have been in place for years and years and years. Then I'm also going to show you some examples from like last year or maybe last month that are really good, and I'll show you why. So what I found was, for me, I had a knack for fundraising. I spent 5 years at the local food bank, and we went from a budget of about $250,000 a year to $1.1 million when I left 5 years later. I'm pretty proud of that. Even to this day, I'm pretty proud of that. That was significant. So when I look back at what did I do, what specifically caused that, I was able to identify some pieces, and that is a lot of what I teach now. And guess what? Spoiler alert, it's all about relationships. It's all about seeing your donors as partners in the work that your organization does. More on that later. So today, I spend my day just like this, talking to a camera on my laptop and helping people learn how to raise money. And I love it. I love doing this. I'm so blessed that I get to do this all day long. I respect what you all do so much. You do the work that I couldn't do. I love animals, but I think I'm too tenderhearted to try to do the hands-on rescue and the work that you do. So my hat is off to you. What I know how to do is raise money, and if I can help you do that, then terrific. We save more animals. We're all on board with that. So that, to me, that's how I see how I fit in and help you all do what you do. All right, last year, during the holidays, I had several clients who said things to me like, I can't believe we did that. We've never raised that much money during the holidays. Or they said, we reached our goal early. What do we do now? It was fun. Holiday fundraising is the most fun to me. I love it. In my mind, fundraising season starts September 1, and your opportunities just get hotter and bigger the closer you get to New Year's Eve. So if you're not prepared for that and you're not taking advantage of that, you're going to leave a lot of money on the table. That's why we're here today. You're the smart people. You are here to figure out what you need to put in place so you can fully leverage it. And this is the truth that I live by in fundraising, and that is when you raise more money, you can change more lives. That's what it is. That's what it's all about. You're not here because you love working extra hours and being underpaid and, dealing with all the craziness of animal welfare. That's not why you're here. And I get that. It's all okay. When you raise more money, though, you can get more help. You can expand your services. You can do more of what you're doing, and your numbers go up if that's what you want. Now, during fall and holiday fundraising season, there are a bunch of common mistakes that people make. One is assuming that people will give just because it's the holidays. People feel more generous during the holidays. And if we look at statistics in our industry, fourth quarter of the year is better and bigger than any other, and December is better and bigger than any other month. But we have to show up. We have to communicate with people, and we have to ask. Nobody's going to wake up in the morning and say, oh, I feel like giving some money away. What nonprofit should I pick? Nobody does that. So it's on us. We have to make sure that our donors and our prospects are aware that we're here and what we're doing and how they can support the good work. If you wait till the last minute to decide what to do, you are never going to do your good work. Never going to do your best work. I used to be a last minute Lucy, and I was very, very proud. Like, I do my best work at the last minute. Anybody else ever told themselves that lie? I work great under pressure. Yeah, that was okay until I realized I was making a lot of mistakes. And I realized I was not giving things my best effort, that I had things that I was trying to do that really needed more planning and more thought and more strategy. When we start to back up and plan things ahead of time, guess what? We can make a bigger splash when we're raising awareness. We can reach more people when we're raising money. We can do better at what we're doing. Over asking is very common. How many of you have somebody that the contact is in your phone, and when the phone rings and you see that person's name, you're like, nope, I don't want to talk to them because I know they're going to ask me for something. We all know somebody like that, right? that the only time they reach out is when they want something. Don't show up that way to your donors. So we have to be very careful of not over asking. How do we not over ask? Well, we have to think about what the donor's experience is with our organization. You have to think about the communications that are going out between the asks and what that feels like, and if it's landing or not, if it feels good or not. More on that in a minute. Bad asks or begging. I see this a lot, particularly with really small organizations. Let's say maybe where somebody is a director or a founder. They wear 15 hats, fundraising is one of them, and they just are struggling to have enough time to be able to be strategic and thoughtful about an appeal. So they type something out and send it without a whole lot of thought. And yes, it gets the message out, but it's not received like they want it to be with donors. So bad asks actually hurt your fundraising. What is a bad ask? If everything in your message is all focused on we need this money, we need that, our goal is this. If it's we, us, and our, it's not going to work. And I'm going to show you some examples in a minute of good asks so that you can see what that looks like. All right, so we're here to talk about late summer warm-up. We are here, middle of July. Fundraising season starts September 1. Our prime time is November and December. So the closer we get to the holidays, the better our opportunities get. Now, I want to put a piece in place here for you that I suspect some of you are going to go, oh, thank you. If you know you need to be communicating with donors, but maybe you haven't done a great job of that so far this year, it's going to be okay. I want you to sort of draw a mental line in the sand and say, all right, well, I did the best I could, and I'm going to let all that go. And then I'm going to talk to you about what you need to do going forward, and you can work on that. One of the reasons why we do this webinar in July is so that you have time late summer to get your donors warmed up and ready to make some big gifts during fourth quarter of the year. Does that make sense? Okay, good. That's what we're here for. So whether you've done a stellar job of donor relationships and communication, or you know in your heart like you've not done a great job, it's okay. Let it be, whatever it is. I'm sure there was a reason if you haven't done a good job. So no judgment. We're not putting any judgment on that. Who likes chocolate cake besides me? I love good chocolate cake. This one in this picture, this looks delicious to me. It looks so moist. It looks like that frosting looks kind of creamy to me. I love the strawberries on top. I want that cake, and I want it right now. But you know what? I can't have that cake right now because there is no cake in my house. So if I want that cake, I'm going to have to do a few things first before I can eat that cake. I got to decide, am I going to make this from scratch or am I going to use a box? When am I going to make it? Because I probably got to go to the store. I'm really sure I do not have any ingredients to make a cake in my pantry. When I do get everything, then I have to mix it up and bake it, let it cool, ice it. Then I can grab a fork. This makes sense to you, yes? Yeah. The wanting of it and the having of it don't always happen at the same time. Otherwise, we would all say, I want $100,000 so that I can pay for X, Y, or Z in my organization. That money doesn't just fall out of the sky. There are things we have to do. If we say, I would love to raise $100,000 before the end of the year so that I can fund whatever it is in your organization, we have to do a few things first. Fundraising works the same way. That money's not going to just fall out of the sky. We wish it would. I would teach you all how to summon it if I knew how to do that. All right, couple of things, and then we're going to dive into some specific strategies. Remember that good fundraising is donor focused. This is not about begging. This is not about arm twisting. This is about seeing our donors as valuable partners in the work that our organization does. Your donors care about what you're doing. They want to see you win. And if you give them a good experience, they're going to stick around. They're going to see themselves as partners in your work. And here's the really funny thing. Young, like new fundraiser Sandy did not understand that when somebody made a big gift, it actually was transformational for them as much as it was for the nonprofit. I guess I thought that, quote, rich people just had money and they would just give it to me if I wrote the right letter. And the truth is, when somebody makes a big gift, however much big is for your organization, it warms their heart. It changes their life as much as it changes your organization. So when you give them the opportunity to give, you're actually helping them fulfill their own personal philanthropic desires. Now think about this. How many times, maybe you've said this or you've heard other people say, if I won the lottery, I'm going to pay off my bills and I'm going to buy a new house and then I'm going to give money away. A lot of people say that, don't they? I would love to give some money away. That's because we all have our own personal philanthropic desires. We all have our desire to do good in the world. And we have to remember that our donors feel that way. This is important because if we can give them those opportunities and we help them feel good about giving to our organization, they are going to stick around. They're going to give bigger gifts and they're going to give over and over and over again. So the relationship is key. Relationship. Now, don't overthink this about relationship. The relationship between the donor and your nonprofit is actually pretty simple. It is them seeing themselves as partners in the good work your organization is doing. So if we communicate with them, we tell them stories from the front line, we show some pictures, we show some video, it's going to warm their heart. It makes them feel good. People only stay in relationships that make them feel good. When they stop getting something out of it, they're out. All right, imagine that you have a relationship account with every donor. And we can think about this piggy bank here. So you have a piggy bank for each donor. Every time that you make the donor feel good, you tell a story, you show a video, you're depositing into that account. Every time you ask for something, whether you're asking for money or buy a ticket to our event or follow us on Facebook or volunteer or give to our wish list, you're making a withdrawal. Now, you don't have to be an accountant to know that if you make more withdrawals than deposits, that account is going to close. It's going to zero. So think about this. If all we do is ask, and ask some more, people go away. It turns them off. Because we're not investing in that relationship account. We're not making the donor feel good. Now, what does that have to do with anything? That's critical right now. That's part of the late summer warm-up, is that you want to look at how have you been doing at making people feel good. And if you think, maybe I haven't been doing a great job, then now's the time to fix that. If you have been doing a good job, good, keep going. All right, in Fundraising 101, we teach this. 3 pieces of the fundraising cycle. A lot of times people forget that there's a third piece. We think about fundraising as asking. Oh yeah, and then we'll thank people. So there's ask and thank, but truly if you want to keep people around, you have to update them. You have to let them know what happened to their donation. So let's say that you're raising money because you just got a whole bunch of puppies in. You want to circle back to people in a couple of months and let them know what's going on with those puppies. How are things going? If you're raising money for transport, then you want to circle back around and let people know how many animals are being transported and what's happening at the other end. So people want to know what's going on and what happened to their donation. And what we need to do right now is a whole lot of the thanking and the updating to get people ready for fall asks. And this is actually pretty easy to do. All right. So that's all the foundational level stuff. Now I want to give you some specific strategies that you can use right now, today, to start getting people ready for your next ask. Strategy number 1 is I want you to double down on communication. What does that mean? Does that mean send out more emails? No, we're not necessarily talking about quantity. I want you to think about quality. What is the quality of the communication that you're sending to your donors? Are you looking at your to-do list and there's something that says, get the newsletter out, and you're like, okay, and you just, think, brain dump right off the top of your head and think of what you need to share, put it in a newsletter, hit send. I used to do that. If you're doing that, I have no judgment on that because I've done that before too. But what we have to think about, we have to back up and say, wait a second, what is the purpose of that newsletter? What is the purpose of that email that we're sending? Remember, our communications need to make people feel good. So you can look at everything that you want to include in your newsletter and ask yourself, will this make the donor feel good? If the answer is yes, you can include it. If the answer is no, it has to go. So I was looking at newsletters for some animal sanctuaries last week. And one of them, it was so long. I said, all right, number one, people are not going to read this because most people are reading email on their phone. So they're not going to scroll through 15 sections and all these long paragraphs to read what you have on there. You got to keep it super short. Like, people need to be able to skim that newsletter in about 10-15 seconds. It's got to be really short. They had things in there about their new summer interns. I said, that's got to go. Nobody cares about your summer interns. They said, oh, but we're in college town. I said, your donors don't care about your summer interns. Put that on social media. You got to back up and think about, what do your donors care about? All right, here's the spoiler alert. What do your donors care about? The animals. They want to know, are you doing your job? Are you saving animals? If you're all about spay neuter or TNR, are you doing, like, how many animals have you impacted? What's the result? That's what they want to know about. So think about, your newsletter needs to have a feel-good story. You can do an update. You can do a really short save the date if you've got a couple of things coming up that are of interest to the donor. Maybe a couple of other little pieces. I've seen one of my horse rescues now includes a did you know, which I think is brilliant because now she's doing a little education. Did you know? Did you know that draft horses are social animals and they will all often bond with a pasture mate, which I think is beautiful. I think that's a perfect way to help people understand more about what their organization does. All right, so doubling down on communications. You guys with me so far? It's a little bit of a shift in thinking for some of you, I bet, of, oh, we can't just write anything we want to in a communication or a newsletter. We have to think about how that's going to land with the donor. You do. The good news is, once you get in the habit of this, like if you hit time out and just sit down and map out the sections that need to go in your newsletter or other kinds of communications you want to send, make yourself a template, and then you're off to the races. And you don't have to stop again to rethink about that. All right, so lots of non-asks. You want to have plenty of communications that have no ask in it. So that's part of what balances out the asking. You want to share the impact. So you want to share either a before and after story, or if you've got numbers. Lots of our clients are doing mid-year updates right now. I'm going to show you some examples of those. And just something that's just going to make people smile. That's the whole point. So you need to be sending more consistent, warm communications. That's number one. I want you to go back and look at, in the last 6 months, how many communications have you sent to your donors and how many had an ask in them? You're probably going to see most of them had an ask in it. So now you can look at, from here to the end of the year, what are your asks going to look like and what are the non-ask communications going to look like? More stories, more photos, more video. You guys all have that. And more invitations to connect. So that could simply be in a thank you letter you put, hey, if you have questions you'd like to ask personally, reach out to me here. If you'd like a tour of our facility, reach out to me here. You may never have anybody take you up on that, but the fact that you include that is very welcoming. It shows that you're very open, and it basically rolls out the welcome mat, which is a good thing. Ninja ideas. Mid-year updates can be fantastic. That's why we have so many clients doing that right now. So they're telling their donors what they've accomplished in the first 6 months of the year. And it's a great way to reach out and share just 2 or 3 key numbers without an ask. A thank you video can go a long way. So any of you could do a short video where you say, hey, this is Sandy from the SPCA. Boy, we're right here in the middle of summer, and this is going on, that's going on. I just wanted to say thank you for all your support. We could not take care of all these animals without you. So it can be a very, very short thank you video that you send. If you really want to get good about this, make some thank you calls to some of your best donors. You may not have phone numbers for very many. You may not be able to get in touch with very many because a lot of people don't answer the phone if they don't recognize the number. But here's what's going to happen. You are going to have success in reaching some people, and they're going to say, oh, I'm so glad you called. I love hearing from you. How can I help? Those people that say either what do you need or how can I help are the ones who are prime for giving you matching money for fall campaigns, for Giving Tuesday, for year end. Campaigns with match always will raise more money. Always. All right, mid-year update. Here's one from Unity Farm Sanctuary. This is actually a postcard. I believe this was a postcard that went out. This may have just been the email version of it. It essentially just shows some pictures, and here's 4 numbers of things that have happened. Here's a QR code if you want to learn more about how your donation made an impact. These are pretty simple to do. This particular one we helped them with, and we built it in Canva. It wasn't a great big deal. Here's another one from Esther Neonatal Kitten Alliance. They're in Asheville, North Carolina. They save teeny weeny kittens. So you can see they've got 9 pictures. These kitties are all safe and loved thanks to you. The other side of the postcard's hard to read because of the postmark, but they did include a little bit. And then if you don't read any of that, but you get you're a literal lifesaver, what does that do? It makes you feel good about the support. Are any of you doing anything like this right now? Any kind of mid-year update? This is actually not real hard to do. All right. Strategy number 2 for going forward, for raising the most you can during the fall and holidays, and that is strategically map it out. Don't shoot from the hip and just ask when you feel like it, or ask when it seems right. There's some timing to be considered. The closer we get to the end of the year, the more you have to really think about the holidays and think about what people are doing and think about when do you want to communicate with people. Some of that's going to have to do with how you communicate with people, whether it's through the mail, through email, text, phone call, like whatever that is. So what I want you to do is get a calendar and look at September, October, November, December, and think about when are you going to ask for money. And if you say, I don't know, then I'm going to say pick. Pick when you want to ask for money. Look at everything else that's going on in your organization, and when does it make sense to send out an appeal. If you don't know, if the sky's the limit, mid-October is a real good time to send out a fall appeal, because you've got time before Giving Tuesday, which is December 1st this year. So you have time in between the fall appeal and Giving Tuesday to do some other things, to do those nice warm communications. So think about how many times you want to ask, when you want to ask, plot this all out on a calendar, and think about what you're doing when you're not asking. What is the donor's experience? What are you sending them? If it's a newsletter, great. Make sure it's as good as it can be. If you want to just send an update email, totally fine. Andy at Esther Neonatal Kitten Alliance is an expert at this. She's very, very good at emails that are real short. They usually have a picture or a video in them, and they're only designed to make you feel good about supporting the organization. She's brilliant. If you go on her website, you can Google Esther Neonatal Kitten Alliance. She's one that I would like, go give her, donate $5 and just watch what she does, and then watch all of her emails. You will learn a lot. All right, 3-to-1 ratio. This is another ninja trick. If you don't take away anything else from today, take this. This works not just during the holidays, but all year long. So some people say to me, well, how often can we ask? How many asks can we do during holidays? That depends on a couple of things. Depends on how often your donors are used to being asked. It also depends on what you're doing when you're not asking. The 3-to-1 ratio says that you can ask as often as you want, as long as. In between the asks, there are 3 really good, heartwarming, meaningful communications. So now you have to really think about, what does that mean? What's a heartwarming, meaningful communication? It's something that's going to make people go, oh, they're doing such good work. So it might be a video. And let me tell you, Andy plays this card at the kitten rescue. I can't tell you how many videos I've seen of bottle babies sucking on a bottle and their little ears wiggling and the whole thing, and those melt my heart every time. And she sends those videos out, and her donors will just email her back and go, oh my gosh, I love this baby. What do you need? Remember, when people say, what do you need or how can I help? That's magic. They're ready to give. So how often can you ask between now and the end of the year? If you don't usually ask very much, then probably 3 times, maybe 4 times is about what you want to do. If your donors are used to hearing from you more often, you might be able to do a little more, or you might be able to segment. We have clients that we do this with where maybe we're doing a fall appeal and we pull out everybody that has a physical address and we do something slightly different with them. Everybody else gets an email appeal. So we can do email appeals easier and faster, and we can push them a little closer together than a print piece. Print takes longer for production. So we might segment donors based on how we're going to communicate with them, and we might have separate plans for how often we're going to ask. All right, so again, get a calendar, put on the calendar where you're going to ask. I personally like to highlight these in green, and then I put on the calendar where I'm going to communicate with donors, no ask, and I highlight those in pink because to me those are donor love. This is a pretty cool looking calendar, yes? I'm going to tell you in a little while how you can get a hold of that calendar. All right, strategy number 3, I would mix things up. So I just mentioned about segmenting donors that you have a mailing address for, donors you have email address for. If it works for you, if it makes sense, you might want to do a little of both. I've got several clients that in the fall we do both. So we prepare the campaign, we get the print pieces ready, we work with the printer to tell them when we want those pieces to go in the mail, we get our email pieces ready, we get a landing page ready, like everything's ready, and then we let the print piece drop first, and then about 4 or 5 days later we send the email out. So people that we have email and snail mail just got 1, 2. Now why do you think we do that? 1, 2. The second one is a reminder. So if people got that mail piece, if you give them an email reminder 4 or 5 days later, they're going to go, oh yeah, I meant to make a donation. Then there's some really fancy stuff you can do where maybe a week later you pull a list of anybody who opened the email but didn't give. You send a follow-up to those people. So you actually can do a couple of follow-ups just if you have the capability to do that within your donor tracking system. So you're looking at people who opened the email but didn't give. You also can look at people who didn't open the email. So there's lots of different ways you can segment, but think specifically about online and offline. So we have a fair number of, like I said, we have a fair number of clients who are doing these mid-year update postcards right now. We have a couple of clients, including Andy at the Kitten Rescue. She does one of these in December because she does a lot of online asking, and that postcard helps mix it up so that it's not all email, which is a good thing. We have other clients that send out holiday cards, either at Thanksgiving or at Christmas time. And those are going through the mail. Again, it just helps mix things up. So now you have what they call multi-channel access. So you're doing multi-channel communication with your donors. So you're not depending on one way. The issue with email, and you all have experienced this, is let's say you have 100 donors and you send an email. What's your open rate? If your open rate is 50%, then only half of your donors actually looked at that email. And of the ones who look at it, not all of them are going to give. So just the fact that people's inboxes are so inundated, you're not going to get everybody's attention. If you mail something, you have a higher probability of getting people's attention. Now, whether they take the effort and write a check and mail it back, or scan a QR code, or find your email address and go online, that's a whole different thing. But if you mail something and then follow it up with email, now you've given them two different ways to give. They can write a check if they want to, or they can click a button and give that way. You know, there's a lot of studies that show, based on generation, how people will behave. And some of that is accurate and some of it is changing. Typically, the younger your donors, the more they want a QR code, a link, or they want to just do a text to give. Usually Gen X, baby boomers, we can kind of go either way. What I find is the reminder is the power. That's the secret sauce. If you just send an email one time, it's real easy to overlook it or forget it. If you send an appeal and then a follow-up, you're going to increase your chances of getting a donation. So sorry, I am fighting a cold, as you can tell. All right. You can also mix up doing fundraising and awareness building. The end of the year is a real good time to do that. What can that look like? Speaking gigs are a good way to do that. Rotary clubs need a speaker every week. So if you have not been out and made the rounds lately, go do that. Excuse me, one more time. Your local news media may also be looking for feel-good stories around the holidays. I love pitching an evergreen story around the middle of December that will still be true that week between Christmas and New Year's. That is a time when a lot of folks who work at media are wanting to take off. They don't want to be there. We all want to have time off, right? So if you can give them a story that they can go ahead and get in the can and run that helps them, and it's going to get you in the news during the biggest giving week of the year. So that's a good one. Leverage online fundraising. You can actually do a little more than you think. Time moves real fast on social media, so you can do a little bit more than you think, but still be strategic about it. If you're going to ask on social media, I wouldn't ask more than once a week. And I would make sure that in between those asks that you have some really good stories, some photos, some video. For most of you, humor is probably going to be appropriate. And so you can have some funny post of, some of you may already be doing Tongue Out Tuesdays, or, you know, some other funny, just sharing funny memes with animals. As long as you're doing plenty of the funny stuff and the feel-good stuff, you're fine to ask once a week. I would also mix that up. So that one week might be a wish list, the next week might be a $5 Friday, the next week might be, we need help with this one specific animal. Mix all that up, it's all good. All right, so we've made through 3 strategies so far. The first one was double down on your communications. The second one was strategically map it out. So get a calendar, see what you're going to do. This one is mix it up, so you're not depending on one kind of communication. Now, because I love to over-deliver, I have a bonus strategy. Y'all want this one? Yeah, bring it! Okay, good. The bonus strategy is ask like you mean it. Ask like you mean it. So let me give you a little bit about what I mean here, and then I want to look at some examples. Ask like you mean it. What does that mean? That means don't use vague asks. I see these a lot. Saw one just the other day that said, hey, our summer rescue goal is $50,000. Please give and help us reach our goal. Nobody cares about your arbitrary goal. They want to know how many animals and what are you doing and how's my $25 donation going to make a difference. That's really what people want to know. So I want you to ask for a specific amount. If you set a goal, tie it to something tangible. So you need to be talking about the impact and how their donation is going to make a difference. So if you don't know what it costs you to do what your organization does, you need to figure that out. We call it a core number, where you figure out what it costs you to deliver a unit of service. We worked with a shelter in Cape Girardeau, Missouri many years ago, and we crunched their numbers. Their core number was $6.80 to house and feed a homeless animal for a day. So that was pretty cool. And we could tell people your gift of $6.80 is going to take care of a homeless dog or cat for a day. So now we can get people shopping. Now it's $6.80 for a day, and this much for a week, and this much for the entire length of stay, which for them was like 21 days. So now we get people shopping. So instead of a yes-no decision, they're like, oh, do I want to do 1 day or a week or 21 days? What do I want to do here? That's where you want people, because now they're bought in to what you're doing. You want to include a sense of urgency. This is the biggest reason why people don't take action. All of us are conditioned to make a decision before a deadline expires. You don't believe me? Go try to get your tags for your car on the 30th of the month. Everybody's in there doing it. Like, we all wait till the last minute. We all do stuff like right when we have to. So you want to include a sense of urgency if you can. Sometimes you have to be a little creative about sense of urgency, and then be very clear about next steps. This is how you ask like you mean it. All right, let me show you some examples. So this is an email from Esther Neonatal Kitten Alliance, and there's a couple of things that I love about it. One is it's actually pretty short. It has a really cute picture of a kitten. If I don't read any of this, I can see the button says click here to sponsor a critical need. So if I don't read any of that, I can see the picture, click here to sponsor a need. Great, I'm in. Let's do the thing. Now if I back up and start to read, it's really good. It starts immediately with the story of this kitten named Cookie. Born in a crowded rural county shelter, blah, blah, blah. But even with a good mom, crowded shelters are risky for fragile kittens. Boom. So she's putting a stake in the ground there around this is why we have to act. Then if you look up here in this red circle, right now just $11 provides an entire week of nourishment for kittens like Cookie. So now we've told donors exactly how much we want them to give and what that money is going to do. So we're asking like we mean it. And then down here, I love this. Here's your sense of urgency. We can't wait until they get sick. We can't wait until they start to fade. The difference for kittens like Cookie often comes down to how quickly love shows up. Please consider sponsoring a critical need today. There's your sense of urgency. And most of you can use something to that effect. Cool, yes? Yeah, I'm telling you, she knows what she's doing. Here's another one. This is from Big Paws of the Ozarks. Kayla Mays, actually a friend of Andy's. Andy introduced me to Kayla several years ago. So this is a recruitment for monthly donors, and I love it for a couple of reasons. One is it's very short. I love that she starts every week. We have to decide which dogs we can afford to save. Now we've got a sense of urgency right from the get-go, because rescue requires resources. Oh, I love these other two sentences here too. So not because they aren't deserving, not because they aren't urgent, because rescue requires resources. Then we have this box with this dog. So we've got a whole story there. And then over on the right, we have a button. So if I don't read this, I can go right to Save a Life Today. Okay, click. I'm getting right to the good stuff. Okay, this is another one. This is from another client, Rough Haven. crisis sheltering, and this is for their event. And I thought this was so good. Lots of us do events. And what they've done here is they have talked about why the success of this event is so important. So what they do, and you'll get this from this sentence, when someone is hospitalized, fleeing domestic violence, entering treatment, or experiencing housing instability, there are very few systems designed to keep pets and families together. Y'all know what I'm talking about. That's where Rough Haven steps in. So they provide that temporary housing. And so they talk about this while they're promoting their event, which was absolutely brilliant. So this was back in May when they had their event. Needless to say, it was a record-breaking year. But I thought you guys might want to see that. So it's not just get your ticket and attend our event, but here's why the event revenue matters. And now there's a built-in sense of urgency because there's only X number of days before the event. Now, here's another real good one. This is from Asheville Humane Society. And this is actually kind of old, but I think so good. Here's why I think this is so good. This photo, number one, look at that dog. We can see the dog's eyes so clearly, and with that photo being black and white is very stark. That dog looks a little concerned to me. Then we have, in big red letters, last chance, and this had a countdown timer on it. So when I received this email, it told me how many hours and minutes were left. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to do something right now. So there was a sense of urgency right there. This was the whole email, by the way. There's like one little paragraph and then a thank you and happy new year. And if I don't read that paragraph, I can see last chance, donate now. There's the picture. I know exactly what I need to do. Cool? Yeah. So when you're looking at sense of urgency, I want you to explain why you need help now. What happens if you meet your goal? And what happens if you don't? Because sometimes that is how you find your sense of urgency. If we don't meet our goal, X number of animals are going to continue to be euthanized for space issues. Or if we don't meet our goal, what is this other thing that's going to happen? Just depending on what your organization does. Okay. Woo! Whose head's full? No, right? It's a lot. Okay, so what do you do now? First of all, let me ask you, did you get good nuggets today? Have you gotten some good ideas? I keep seeing Rose turn the page and she's taking notes like crazy. Okay, good stuff. Here, so two things. One is, here's what I want you to do next. This stuff is fabulous for fall fundraising, but it works all year long. I want you to go back through your notes, highlight the big nuggets and ideas. Then I want you to pick one of them, block off some time on the calendar, either later this week or next week, and start working on that. So if you said, oh, double down on communication. Yes, I need to do a better newsletter. Mark off, like make an appointment with yourself. Give yourself a couple of hours and go sit down and work on that. If you're wanting to get the calendar out and start mapping out your asks and your non-asks, make an appointment with yourself because that's how you're going to actually move on what you've learned today. Otherwise, it was just fun. But I don't know about you, that's not okay with me. I want you to actually do something with this because I would love for you to call me in 6 months and say, you're not going to believe what just happened. I would love that. So that's the first thing I want you to do. The second thing is I do have a resource that I want to share. And then if we have some time left, I'm happy to answer questions if you have any. Who would like more help on fall and holiday fundraising? Who would like to see more examples? Who wants to hear, how do you raise good money on Giving Tuesday? Yeah, I thought some of you might. So we have another workshop coming up that I want to tell you about real quick where we dig into all of this a little bit more. It's called Inspired Fundraising Retreat. It happens August 19th, 20th, and 21st. It is a virtual retreat. You're going to be amazed how fast the time is going to fly by. We plan it like a talk show. So we're just constantly changing things up to keep you engaged and entertained. What we're going to do is look at fundraising season from September 1 to December 31st I'm going to give you a calendar and we're going to help you map it all out. Then we're going to go into detail on what makes a good appeal. How do you do Giving Tuesday to meet your goal? What does last chance look like? And then what's all the warm touch you need to do in between? So we're going to help you nail your ask. Thank people so well that they're sharing, and I want you to be able to plan all this out so you can actually take some time off during the holidays. Everybody say amen and hallelujah. Yes, we want to be able to take time off. We've had people get fantastic ahas from Inspired Fundraising Retreat from, wow, creating an e-newsletter with what the donor wants to hear, not what you want them to know. We do spend some time on newsletters. We look at some good examples of those. We talk about catchy first lines of emails or subject lines. We have people who get great big results. I've had people at the retreat hear about how to make a good ask, reach out to a major donor that afternoon, and come back the next morning and tell me they got a $2,500 gift just from using something they learned the day before. So this stuff works. You do get the 120-day foolproof fall fundraising calendar that is built out to help you prep all the stuff that you need. So in September, it's going to tell you the prep steps you need to be taking for Giving Tuesday. It's going to tell you what you need to be doing to get your fall appeal out. And it's all very customizable. So if you have an event or you have something else going on, you can add it in, you can move stuff around. It's all good. You can make it work for your organization. But if you don't have a place to start, I've figured it out for you. Now I'll tell you a story about Andy from Esther Neonatal Kitten Alliance. I adore Andy. Every time I drive through Asheville, I stop and see her. And Andy has said 2 or 3 years in a row, she says, I love you, but there's a lot on this calendar, and I don't normally do all of it. And she still hits her goals. She still goes way over goals. So if you look at it and you say, that's a lot, you don't have to do all of it. Andy's living proof of that. All right, so here's the deal. If you're interested, it is August 19th, 20th, and 21st. You can go to getfullyfunded.com/August. And we've got a good discount for you on a ticket because you are here, because you took time to come and learn these cool nuggets today. Grab your ticket for $149. That's going to get you 3 days of content. We do record all of it, so if there's some you have to miss part of it, don't worry, it's all recorded. You can share it with your team, with your volunteers and such. All right, so I just wanted to make sure that I shared that resource because that's right around the corner. And from there, we're going to get you ready, and we're going to go into a whole lot more detail around fall fundraising. And you're going to hear from Andy. She will be there. She's one of our mentors in our Fall Goal Busters program. She'll be there talking about what she did last year. I'll tell you another really fun story too real quick, and then if you've got questions, I'll answer them. So I also showed you an example today from Kayla Mays. Do y'all remember 2 years ago when Hurricane Helene blew through? Yeah, well, Andy's in Asheville. It was terrifying as we were getting bits and snippets from her about what was happening. She lost all power at she lives right next to her organization, and they have that kitten nursery. So she was walking back and forth. She had to drive down the street to find any place where she could get a message out. Well, she wound up texting Kayla and said, is there any way you can log in to my CRM and send an email out? Kayla in Arkansas dropped what she was doing, took Andy's login, logged in, and sent out an appeal for her. And that's friendship. I love that. Those ladies are awesome. There's actually 2 more. There's a little quad of those 4 ladies, and they hang out together. They're fun. I think that's a cool story. We all rallied around to try to help Andy however we could. Because that's what we do at Get Fully Funded. We're all about raising money so you can fully fund your organization, but we're also about community. All right, who's got questions? What would you like to know? We got a couple of minutes left. While I blow my nose one more time. All right, let me go back to the questions we started with. How to engage donors outside of our main year fundraiser. Denise, did you get some ideas? You've got all kinds of ways that you can just share with your newsletter, with
Yeah, I mean,
updates.
I think that we're doing a good bit of this already. We
Cool.
have two newsletters a year. Our main fundraiser is in December, so that newsletter is kind of a summary of what we've done throughout the year, what
Uh-huh.
our goals are for next year, thanking our donors. And we also do kind of we do a bio on an employee and on a volunteer, and how those people have influenced the organization. We went from just kind of like a newspaper newsletter to a fancy mini magazine thing, and we've had a lot of really great feedback on that. People love it.
Okay.
Um, and we're also able to use it when we go to events. So it's not just a one point in time thing. We're also doing Facebook Lives once a month where we
Great.
do shelter tours. We show everybody what animals we have, what's adoptable. That's increased our adoptions incredibly. But it also gets people involved, they get to actually see this is where your money's going, this is what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I do think the idea of the postcards, that's a good one. We can certainly do that in between, like maybe once a quarter or the 2 quarters that we're not doing the newsletter. That would make a
Mm-hmm.
lot of sense. And at our board meeting yesterday, we actually did talk about doing quarterly email newsletters or monthly email newsletters as well. So that the feedback you gave with that,
Mm-hmm.
making it very targeted. We did talk about using video, making sure, that it's just a real targeted message. So good information. I think it's reassuring to hear that we are kind of hitting a lot of the things we need to.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that last year was our best fundraising effort ever. We raised $274,000 in
Awesome.
December, so it's only half of our operating budget for the year, but it's better than we've ever done before. So,
That's awesome. Well, congratulations on that. That's fantastic. I would absolutely, since you're already doing so many things and you're doing them well, I would take a look at any specific donor segments that you need to communicate with
mhm,
specifically. And you also might think about if you're doing a monthly newsletter, just putting some feel good piece in there or
right,
an extra. I have clients that do their monthly email newsletter and then they do another just really short feel good piece. We've done some work with old friends in Nashville, and they like to celebrate random holidays. So they'll celebrate National Nap Day and photos of the dogs belly up sleeping.
right.
It's hysterical, and their donors will hit reply and go, "Oh my gosh, that's hysterical. Oh, by the way, I'm sending money through my donor advised fund, blah, blah, blah."
Okay. No, that's a good idea.
Yeah, you can, there's so much you can do. So just look at all of it, think about your segments, be strategic, you'll be in good shape.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. All right, Diana, we are at time.
I had to unmute myself. Thank you so much, Sandy. This was wonderful.
Good. Of course, I can stick around and talk all day about this stuff. Y'all know I can. So let's do this. If you, oh, Rose had a good question. I'll answer that because I can do that one quickly. If you have other questions, please feel free to email. Shoot those to me at sandy@getfullyfunded.com. I'm happy to do that. And Rose wants to know, just last question, how do I communicate with the donors on a personal level, but yet not burn out, trying to make them all feel important? Find a way to speak one to many where the one to many feels like one on one. It can be done. Can be done. All right, fantastic, you guys. Well, let me know how it goes. And if you want to come to Inspired Fundraising Retreat, I'd love to see you there.
Thanks again, Sandy.
Yep, my
We'll
pleasure.
we'll see you soon.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.